We are live. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are live. And this evening here on Man Talk Live, I have a question for you. Are you struggling to be able to understand what it really means to be a real man in life? Well, in this episode of Man Talk Live, we're continuing the conversation of part two. Simply what it really means to walk in real authority, to walk as a real authentic man. And we're starting right now. Praise the Lord, everyone. Welcome to Man Talk Live. I'm your host, Walter Strong, where we share helpful tips to inspire men like yourself to raise the standard of manhood in your life so you can be a great husband, a devoted father, and a man of integrity. And as we said in our opening tonight, we're going to get into part two of this conversation. Real issues, real talk, real solutions. Man Talk Live, how to walk as an authentic man, walking in authentic manhood as a man. And so if you're new here tonight, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live. If you're watching the replay, you know what to do. Hashtag Team Replay in the comment section. So without further ado, let's get into the content. Let's continue the conversation on how to walk in real authentic manhood as a man. You know, let's do a little brief review. You know, sometimes in life, we're taught that being a man can sometimes be about social status in terms of what you do from a social status standpoint. Are you considered a man when you have your first beer? Are you considered a man when you kill your first deer by going hunting? Are you a man based on the age that you've reached and being age 21 and now being considered a man? Or are you a man considered now into walking into manhood by having your first kiss by a young lady? But the truth of the matter is, none of those things define what a real man is. Real manhood simply is a choice. It's a choice. Walking in real, authentic manhood is a choice. Being a male is a matter of birth, but being a man is a matter of choice. Being a real man who rejects passivity, who engages God and engages with his family, a man who accepts responsibility, who leads courageously, and is willing to mentor others in their life, or is willing to be mentored by someone who can pour into their life. That's real. That's authentic manhood. So here are 4 additional tips I want to share with you here on Man Talk Live tonight, here on a Wednesday night. Tip number 1, walking in real authentic manhood is about having a sense of purpose in life. You're just not going through the motions each day when you wake up in the morning, put your feet on the floor, get in the car and drive to work and punch the clock and work a 9-to-5 job like the song that was penned many years ago by Dolly Parton, working 9 to 5. If you Google that song or go on YouTube, Dolly Parton 9 to 5. But you're not just working a 9 to 5 and just going through the motions and coming home to your white picket fence house and your dog Crypto greeting you at the door as you're coming in, taking the paper off the front porch and kissing the wife. The leave it to Beaver Cleaver reality that you have. But you have a sense of purpose in life. You realize when you wake up in the morning, you're waking up with purpose that God has given you through the breath that you breathe in your lungs, and you have purpose in your life because of the activity and the uses of your limbs. You're clothed in your right mind. You have a sense of purpose in life that you know you should be accomplishing something, not just for yourself, not just for your family, but a God given purpose that first is going to give him glory. And then, second, that's going to be a blessing to others. I'll say that again. A God given purpose that's going to first give him glory. And then, second, that's going to be a blessing to others, that you are making an impact in someone's life. A sense of purpose that you're not drifting throughout life, wandering, not really understanding why you're here, not understanding your role in life. We're living in a society now where men sometimes feel like they're just wandering through life, having no sense of purpose, and is just drifting. If you've ever gone swimming in your life, when you go out swimming into the beach, there's lifeguards that will tell you that if you ever get caught in the riptide, that you don't try to swim against the current, because all it could do is just cause you to drift out further, and it ultimately can tire you out, where you can put your life at risk. But as you be able to go with the tide, eventually it may carry you out to a certain point, but you can eventually get back to shore. But too many of us are men. We're just drifting. We're drifting in life with no purpose. We're drifting in life not understanding what our true potential is in life. We're drifting in life not having a clear understanding of what our role and our responsibility are as husbands and fathers. And so we have no sense of purpose. But a real man, an authentic man, has a sense of purpose in his life. Tip number 2: a real and authentic man also understands that he is going to avoid escapism. Escapism. What do I mean by that? When you have no sense of purpose, and we talked this past Saturday about dealing with unresolved pain, and not dealing and resolving pain, but tolerating pain. Sometimes as men, we go into escapism and find ways to escape our pain. We try to find ways of escaping our pain, to numb it, through alcohol, through drugs, through sex, through being in the arms of a woman, and unfortunately sometimes being in the arms of another man. And so a real man, an authentic man, avoids escapism. He also understands that he's not going to run to his job and throw himself into his work to try to numb the pain. Maybe you're a person who's had to deal with grief and loss through the death of a loved one that has passed on and transitioned and gone home to be with the Lord. Instead of trying to throw yourself into your work and try to throw yourself and numb the grief and the loss, and not dealing with the reality of that loved one now gone home to be with the Lord, as a man, you're willing to face the reality that your loved one now has passed on, but they want you to keep living on. I'll say that again. Your loved one may have passed on, but they want you to keep on living on with a sense of purpose. And so, yes, their grief and loss has a process to go through. But in that process of going through grief and loss, you are a man who's willing not to go into to find ways to escape your reality, but you're willing to face that reality. Tip number 3: a real and authentic man is willing to be a man who's willing to help and resolve problems, um, that are going on first in his own life, that problems that may come before him in his life, to be able to learn how to resolve and to take care of problems in his life. And as he learns to be a problem solver and resolving issues and problem in his own life, he then is willing to be a problem solver through 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 help that he offers to others that reach out to him, that reach out to him to help to be a problem solver. Unfortunately, when we look at a lot of the major problems that are going on in our society today, a lot of the major problems that we see going on in our society are unfortunately at the hands of men. When you look at the major problems, such as violent crimes that are being committed against other people, I don't have the statistics in terms of what the statistics say, but I can tell you the main perpetrator that's involved in, unfortunately, through mass shootings and school shootings and workplace active shootings at a workplace or in a mall, it's at the hands of a man. When we look at, you know, drunk driving and people being killed at the hands of a drunk driver who's driving under the influence with his license expired and his no registration, getting behind the wheel when his license has been suspended for the 10th time, and he gets behind the wheel because he wants to run to alcohol and substance abuse as a form of escapism. He gets behind the wheel, and unfortunately now he injures, or worse, takes the life of others and kills. And who is the main perpetrator that we see in most case situations when we hear on the news? It's men. And so major problems that are happening where there's fatherless in the homes and not being fathers to their sons and daughters, the divorce rate in marriages, where a woman says, I now want a divorce and I want to serve you divorce papers because she no longer wants to carry your name. Men. But a real man, an authentic man, is willing to be a person who's willing to deal with real problems that he goes through. Real problems that, again, he's not going to be passive about the problems in his life. He's going to engage God about his problems. He's going to engage his families about the problems that they're dealing with to help resolve and deal with their problems. Okay? He's going to be willing to be a man accepting responsibility and say, hey, if I'm at fault here, I'm at fault. I'm willing to learn from my mistakes and to make the quality life better for my household. And so a real man, an authentic man is going to be one who resolves problems, not one who contributes to major problems that we see in society. Hey, if you're getting great value out of this episode of Man Talk Live, do me a favor, click the like button for me, give me a thumbs up, share this on your favorite social media platform, which brings me to my fourth point. My fourth point simply is a real man, an authentic man is not going to be a person who's going to just settle for things for in life. He's not going to just settle for things in life. He's not going to just live a life of just being average and just settle for the way the things that they are. He's going to be willing to, again, seek God wisdom, seek God in prayer, seek God for his guidance and counsel, because he knows God has greater things for him in his life and it's for his household and his family. And so he's not just going to settle for things that has happened to him in his past to say, well, what has happened is happened. There's no sense of having an expectation of better, because when you begin to expect or try to desire things better, you only end up getting disappointment. So he's not a type of person who's going to, out of fear of not getting hurt, he's going to be willing to have an expectation of greater things in his life. He has an expectation that he can accomplish greater things in his life, and he can contribute in helping accomplish greater things in people's lives that his life impacts and touch. A real man, an authentic man, is not willing to settle just for, the things that have just put life has put before him, especially when he knows God has a greater purpose for his life. What about you, my brother? What about you, my friend? Do you know God has a greater purpose for your life? That he has a sense of purpose that he's placed on the inside of you? You know that you know that there's more. You know that God doesn't just want you drifting. Now, I also understand that sometimes when we have a sense of greater to accomplish greater things and be a part of bigger things, it requires us to find out what that purpose is. It requires us educating ourselves. It requires me and you to develop new skills, because if we're going to accomplish greater things, we have to first start with our mind. We have to start with our attitude and our mentality, because if the mind and the mentality continues to stay that, hey, I'm just drifting through life, I'm just settling, then you can't accomplish greater things in your life until you first start with your mind. You have to think bigger. And not only do you have to think bigger, but you have to have an expectation for greater, so that you won't be a person who just settles for what people put before you when you know that's not God's best for you. And so, in summary, an authentic man, a real man, has a sense of purpose. He avoids escapism. He is willing to be a problem solver, who's willing to resolve problems and not someone who contributes to being a person who causes major problems in someone's life or others. And he expects greater things in his life and is not willing to settle for things when God has so much more for you and me as a man. And so, hey, if you've gotten great value out of this episode of Man Talk Live, do me a favor, click that like button for me. Share this on your favorite social media platform. And if you're new to the Real Men Rising YouTube channel, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Click the alert notification button and be a part of the conversation of real men that's raising the standard of manhood in their life, not just in their life, but in the generations to come. God is calling me and you to take a time out from the noise. Take a time out from the noise that's going on around you, that you're hearing on the news, that you're hearing on in the sports world. Take a time out from the noise that you may even be hearing on the inside of you, and sit down at the table, and let's have a conversation about the real issues. Let's have a conversation about the real talk that we need to have that will produce real solutions in your life, not just in your life, but my life. That's what Man Talk Live is all about. Taking a time out from the noise, addressing the real issues with real talk, with real solutions that's going to make a difference in your life and in my life. And so, if you have a question tonight, let me know in the chat by giving me a Q in front of the question. And if you got a comment, put a C in front of the comment. We are here live tonight. Tonight, just having a conversation, continuing the topic of how to walk in authentic manhood as a real man in your life, part 2 of this conversation. And so that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. That is what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Well, I don't see any other any questions tonight. I don't see any comments. And so we're going to go ahead and end this live stream right here. But want to encourage you to raise the standard of manhood in your life. Not only raise the standard, but raise it so that you can be a great husband, a devoted father, and a man of integrity in your life. We'll see you on the next episode of Man Talk Live. God bless.